Hello and welcome to a quick video about Inside. I'm not really going to spoil the game, I'm not going to show you much footage of it, I'm not going to talk about the story, I'm not going to show you things to do with the story. So what am I going to talk about? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you it is massively accomplished, especially compared to Limbo, which was frankly an alright platform game with a really strong start that then got a bit boring. Inside is a phenomenally well-crafted piece of work. It's designed in a way which just oozes quality a la Valve games, and that's unusual. And the root of this is all down to focus. When I say focus, think about this like it's a camera. Some bits are in focus, other bits aren't. You've got that nice soft depth of field. Oh, I like cameras. And it's clear that Inside does this aesthetically. The environments are quite fuzzy, quite hazy, quite vague, and I love that if you go into the graphic options for this game, there are no options. This is what the game looks like. Enjoy it. But what's cool about this fuzziness is it allows you in Inside to focus on the things that actually matter. It means when visual details are provided which you need to take in, those things are very clear to see. And this is the point where I'm going to compare it a lot to Half-Life 2, because this sense of focus, both in terms of the aesthetics, but more actually in terms of the design, is very much the same as in that game. Because Inside's balance of fuzziness and focus isn't just about visual aesthetics. You've also got the sound design, which is mostly very minimalistic, very vague, very haunting. But it means when there is sound, you know about it. You've also got the stylistic choice of the fact that characters in this game don't have facial details. Everyone has a blank face. It's a stylistic choice, but one that allows for focus on the animation. The animation is expressive, it's consistent, it's fantastic. If you had faces as well, then that would just create an element for which the game could be held back by that detail. And this choice of whether elements are in focus or left out of focus on purpose isn't just seen in the game's aesthetics. You've got very few examples of traditional narrative in this game. The plot points are always incredibly vague, crafting a story in which you could happily explain what you did throughout the arc of the game. But if you're then asked to clearly detail what the big picture was about, I mean, you sort of implicitly know vaguely what it was about, enough for it to be enjoyable. But in terms of having an explicit story that you can tell, no. And I know a lot of people probably bounced off the game because of that. They wanted something a little bit more clear, something that was a bit more concrete, but as a piece of atmospheric work, it's just superb. Again, this focus comes down to the mechanics. Mechanically, there's very little you need to think about. You've got clean, simple rules about how you can and can't interact with the world, and it means this gives you an immediate feeling of clarity about what you can do and what you can't do. And once these rules are clear, which they quickly are, it means you don't go out of your way ending up trying to do things that you can't and consistently breaking your own immersion with that world. And it's this ability to choose focus and choose where focus is and where it isn't that reminds me an awful lot of Half-Life 2. In Half-Life 2, a lot of emphasis was placed on these alien, unusual, weird devices and creatures. The traditional buildings and cars of the Earth didn't matter, they were just background noise. And that allowed you to focus on the things that they wanted to be details. And those details were rich. It wasn't just nonsense fluff all the time. As you went through the game, a lot of the devices and things became significant. Some didn't, but many did. When you create a world in which everything that the player notices feels relevant, then you've got a world that feels real. And this is a mistake that video games make all of the time. You don't make a place feel real by making it look real. These broad strokes are what allow you to keep consistent details. If everything is detailed, nothing matters. Half-Life 2 was the master of this. It gave you just enough breadcrumbs to feel compelled to find out more, and yet not so much that you were completely bewildered. You always pretty much knew what was going on, and yet at the same time had absolutely no idea. And one of the main reasons I think we all love it is because it didn't finish. People wanted Half-Life 3 partly because they wanted answers, and you know what? If we ever got answers, we will not enjoy it in our minds as much as we do now. And I think there's one bit of Half-Life 2 that really exemplifies to me what that game was about and what it got so right. And that was that bit near the start where you walk past a place and you could see people being beaten up and you couldn't do anything about it. You couldn't look in, you couldn't go in. You keep the heart of the action ever so slightly obscured from view, because that's what real life is like. You can't always go over there and look at what's going on. You don't have time, perhaps you're not allowed, whatever, it doesn't matter, you can't. Reality is not all access. Reality is wondering what that was and thinking, oh, maybe I should go back, but you've missed it. Reality is living in the moment, limited information, always left wondering about what could have been. And in Inside, we see that done through the horrendous, crippling restriction of a 2D plane. It's a 2D game. It's a 2D platformer. And yet you're shown so much more than that. You want to go over there and look, but you can't. You can't. And the result of this is an atmospheric masterpiece, a game in which you die frequently and horribly, and yet it's not frightening. Despite the gore and nastiness, it's not frightening, it's just chilling. Death in this game is just another element of the atmosphere to bring you into this world, remind you what this world is like, and leave you wondering what the piss is going on. And when you have such a strong use of focus in mechanics and aesthetics and narrative, it creates a world that is just a joy to walk through. And it's interesting that actually it's not a difficult game, that it's not difficult to do the jumping bits, it's not difficult to do the puzzles. The most enjoyable parts of this game are the bits where you're just walking. You're just walking. And that got me thinking that maybe this game didn't even really need as many puzzles or jumpy bits. Would have been fine to just mostly be walking. And then it got me thinking about walking simulators and the fact that people hate them so much. And I thought, but what's wrong with a walk? The idea that a walk can be nothing, the idea that you can walk around and nothing is happening, nothing irrelevant, as if going on a walk is this nebulous void, the idea that nothing of value, nothing profound can ever happen to you whilst walking. What does reality look like in their heads? Are these the sorts of people who think that a conversation is inherently probably worthless unless they're the person saying something? Oh, hang on, that's exactly it, isn't it? Yeah, that's exactly the sort of person. Anyway, Inside, it's a very cool game. Should you play it? Yes. Does it have an incredible story? I don't know. Thanks for watching. Bye! If you've liked this video, you can go and tell us about it on coolghosts.net. Pink website with fun people. And if you really, really like our work, then remember we are crowdfunded, which means you can go to patreon.com/coolghosts and chuck us a quid. Thank you. Bye!